Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co-host, Andy Lopez, the invisible gardener's with us, and he's even got the shades on to, be standing out on the street corner, giving everybody a hard time. Hey, Silly Lily, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends.
Comments. I love comments. Hi, Silly. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Is it good afternoon? Is it good morning? No, wait, it's good evening.
Well, it depends on where you are in the world, Andy.
Okay, good day. Good day, mates.
Good day, mate. Good day.
That's the way to do it.
We're supposed to be talking about when is it a good time to add soil biology. My perfect statement would be anytime you can do it is a good time to do it. But
I know that.
Lopez, let's talk what Andy thinks about when is the best.
I would be really interested to see because in Canada, you would be interested. There's definitely some good times to apply and some not so good times to apply from your practical experience. So tell us.
Well, when it's minus 40 degrees and you've got 4 feet of snow on the ground, it's probably not a good time to be spraying soil biology onto the ground, right?
That is absolutely right. Right. I figured you would say that, make that real simple. So it comes down to, where you live at. Hi, cousins. Let's see, where's the joke? Oh, no, I didn't see the joke. It comes down to where you live at. Here in California, it recently got down to 50 degrees, and they were saying that's the worst we've had in 40 years. Everybody was flipping out. That was 50 degrees. So you can add biology here as long as that's 50 degrees. The worms will love that. My worm farm is going nuts because there's not so hot. What they don't like is 80 degrees. Even anything higher than 75, 70 degrees is getting too warm, right? They love the cool stuff. During the wintertime, it depends where you're at. The worms, because I do the worms, they love it underground. The soil, the biology is, what is it called? It's like a leather. It's like a vest, keeps them warm, it protects them like a big blanket, right? Yeah. But over here in California, to me, and it's exactly what you were saying about any time is a good time because ideally here year round we have to constantly be adding the biology. It's a year-round thing. You let go of it for a few months to a year. You come back and go, now what happened? Right? So it's a continuing thing. And I was working today. I have this job that's people had 900 trees. They're down to 600 trees. And the lady said 2 years ago, they had these winds, and these trees just fell right over. No roots, hardly any roots, and no root hairs, nothing. Flopped right over. And so that to me, of course, there's no biology in the ground for the trees to survive. That's the obvious thing. And so the whole property, so because that was 2 years ago, the mixture is not as rock hard. Other places is like cement.
Yeah.
And guys came and dig through it with a pick. And of course, it's going to have some type of biology in the cement, right? But it's not going to be the biology that the plants need to function to have a root system, right? Right. And so, and I told him, I was basically saying, look, we're going to be bringing biology in because we're using Lopez compost as the main source. That's one of the best way to bring biology to your property is to either make the best compost or to know somebody that makes the best compost. You see what I mean? Because if he does the right job, he's going to have an amazing structure foundation for you to work with. Favorite
vegetable. One of your jokes.
Green beans or any other green vegetables.
It's St. Patrick's Day, so we got to get the leprechauns in there,
Oh, silly! Could you put Lily's thing up there?
Sure. Andy, were you able to save those trees for your client?
I was there today. I've been there 3 months now, and the first thing I started doing was foliar feeding. Emergency, everybody needs to eat because we know there's nothing going on down there, right? It's the root systems and there's no soil, the whole structure of water. And of course, the best time to add biology in there that's one reason. See, they went they went to the extreme of adding no biology ever. Everything they did kills any kind of biology in the soil, in the ground. That's what they're doing. What most people do. The water is chemicalized. They clean up any. I showed them a few spots that leaves had managed to stay on the ground. Just a tiny little, and I look underneath. Look at the difference between that and that clay and that concrete over there.
Yeah. Yep.
So I've been doing it for 3 months now. The trees are respondingly amazing because if you foliar feed them, you give them the biology. So that's what you do with biology. You want two things, right? One, you put biology into the soil. It's going to take you a long time to get the biology, but biology goes on the leaves and the trunks of the trees, of the grass and the roses, because in nature, the biology is in the air. The biology is everywhere. You can't walk around without being a part and getting biology on. Oh my God, I got biology, right? You know what I mean? Right? Right? And so I do it as a business because I basically bring biology to you, which I basically don't use as a title. That's me. That's my title. I see you catch you guys using my title. No, I just thought of that. I should write it down, right? I bring the biology to you because that's what we do. We bring the biology to them, to that property. And we have to try constantly tell them, did you know everything you're doing is killing not only the soil biology, but your biology too? Yep. Basically, that's what it comes down to. It's like a real super mess. And so the biology is the key to it. And as a business, you do the biology year round. Exception is going to be okay. This time it's 40 degrees below. So you can't. So what you do is you plant ahead. You say, okay, it's going to snow. Winter's going to come. I want to get that biology in the ground before wintertime comes. That's what you do, right? And the biology will survive better in a cold environment than it would in a hot environment.
Well, because the snow actually forms an insulation layer that helps keep the biology warm and alive through the winter. You think about the Inuit or the Eskimos, they would make blocks of ice and stack those up and make an igloo.
Yeah, and to protect them, right?
Survive in there and stay warm. Okay, so
Well, in a bit, so it does. So concerning a business, you can do that almost anywhere, even in a tropical environment. However, in a tropical environment, you would say, "Well, your biology is everywhere already. So what am I going to be doing now here?" Right? Telling people, "Let me come and kill your biology," rather than the opposite way around. Because in a tropical environment, that's all it is you can't go in, you can't breathe, you can't do anything without being part of the biology and breathing in and using the biology. Right? When I lived in Costa Rica, it rained. It had the ground itself would grab my feet, my arm, my legs. That's the biology, right? So I work on a concrete truck. I don't want to shake off in the garden. Then did I miss something?
If you're pouring concrete, you don't want to pour concrete into the garden. It's not going to work very well.
No, it's not going to work very well. So what you have to take into consideration is. Ideally, it's a year-round thing. You have to constantly be bringing biology to your property or properties, constantly thinking about the fact that they die on a regular basis, just simply from the air, simply from the water, right? And there's so much toxins everywhere that they're being attacked. You have to replenish that. It's like a war. You have an army. You have to be refilling the army over and over and over again. So it's the biology. It's an army. Right, they all have unique things. So you have to constantly year round provide that. So the time, so it depends a lot on other factors, but basically for me, the time like right now, I'm working with my worm farm. We're producing some liquids for tomorrow. I'm going to go to this farm, and then in this farm, I'm like the head gardener there. And what I do now is I'm teaching them. Well, they're buying latent compost and soil. Which they have done no composting, no soil. They just planted stuff right in this clay stuff, and they're watering like crazy, and they're wondering why they're having so many problems. And so I have to get them to control the water, change them to a drip, and learn how to quit throwing everything away.
They've been learning from your book, Don't Panic, It's Organic. They purchased your book, Andy, and they love it. So
and the reason why you need to wean plants off of synthetic fertilizer is that all chemical fertilizers destroys the root hairs in the plants. They don't need root hairs in order to absorb this nitrogen, this chemical stuff. You see, so you don't need a living soil to fertilize chemically, right? Because it's like it's junk. It's like cocaine. They will get it, zoom, regardless, right? And it's called very rapid growth, very green, very luscious, but really very, very sick. A doctor said, "Yeah, it's just like a muscle man. He looks really good, but I'm his doctor. His heart is weak. This is happening to him, and he can't do this much longer because he's going to blow up, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's important to understand. You have to be really good at making, and then what the biology does in the soil. See, there's biology. There's little creatures in there. Their job is to hook themselves to the root systems of your plant, and they become the root hairs. If you look at the root hairs, you're going to find these little guys. That's them. And what does the root hairs do? They take what the biology has put together. Here, take this. They convert it and give it to the plant.
Yeah.
So chemically, you don't need
cycle.
Right. So chemically, you don't need anything. They just get shut up, whether it be in the ground or whether it's through foliar feeding. Right. They get the shot of stuff, bypasses their stomach, and they go right.
Yeah, that's your chemical fertilizers for you.
So you're not really weaning them off the chemicals. The biology is destroying the chemicals that are there and growing some structure. Some of the biology has to change into the hair structure. They have to bind themselves to the root system, because the root systems have to be available, right? They have to be functioning. But it's very easy. You take away the chemical, you take away the nitrogen. The roots are going to look for that. These biology come in, attaches themselves to the roots. They become the hairs, the little fine. You look at the hairs, that's them. There's a certain name for them, and that's what they do. They take the biology comes in, okay, calcium, okay, iron, okay. Right. And these root hairs transform it into a liquid that the tree can then absorb. So you're not weaning them off chemicals. You're like, I want the drug. What you're doing is you're allowing the biology to destroy, to remove the toxins, which are the chemicals, and then allowing the biology to rebuild, right? Rebuild the root hairs, rebuild the whole structure of the tree. Mm-hmm. That's what you do. You have to allow them to rebuild, because they're taking the plants are taking it, yummy, but it takes a while, right, for everything to start working.
Mm-hmm.
That's different than saying, I need that drug, I need that, because you have to understand that the drug is what's stopping them from digesting food properly. See, that's very simple. The drug is stopping me from digesting food. And so
it's only allowing you a very small amount of nutrients going in as well, because the chemical fertilizer, they're relying on, NPK. They're not allowing the 97 trace minerals and all of that. 96 trace minerals. It's very, narrow. So in that narrowness, you can't have the diversity of elements that you need, let alone the diversity in biology.
Because there's nothing there. The only thing that the plants absorb immediately, a long time ago when they had the chemical revolution, it was actually the industrial revolution when they started making chemical fertilizers. They realized if you have high nitrogen, you can attach almost any kind of other chemical to the high nitrogen. Your body absorbs that. The plant absorbs that. So they were using phosphorus, potassium, the three numbers now. But basically, it's based on the high nitrogen that they use, and the nitrogen is what causes the plants to immediately inject them with whatever they give you, wherever they get, and it doesn't allow for the other 90-something trace minerals that you need to make things function.
Yeah, exactly, because you need that vast diversity. But we got a couple of questions, Andy. Here's from a LinkedIn user, and thank you for watching on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
So I garden with the Wiki Garden. This is a container garden system. My containers use potting mix. Do you recommend that I add organisms such as microbes, fungus, and bacteria to my soil mix?
Okay, so here's the thing. So your potting mix probably has perlite and vermiculite, right? So you can tell people what perlite and vermiculite is if you know. Ken?
Well, vermiculite is volcanic rock that has been expanded, and perlite.
It's some other kind of rock that they did the same thing. They expanded, and they do that so that
Yeah.
it can absorb. It can have some air spaces, and they don't realize that, but those things are home for the bacteria to live in, because you don't really. So if you were to use such a biochar, that they would collect around and they have a certain charge that attracts the right particles, and that's what you. So yeah, if you can. So the biology is excellent in containers. You can even go far enough to buy some worms and put them in your containers. And that's
Yep.
what I would do, is I would basically have a container worm farm, and the plants just happen to be a benefit. So if you get the worms really growing in your container and they're happy, and of course you're watering with sterilized water. You can't use city water, right? That kills stuff. People don't understand. They go to the sink and then water your plants. No, you have to have a filter. There are lots of good filters on the market. And then you'll find that I was just talking to some pot growers who are throw away the plant, the containers.
Yeah, the pot, all their soil mix. Yeah.
Right. And so we are showing them how to use biology to just keep using the plant. Take the plant out and grow it again, because the biology is there. You're not destroying anything. You're not using anything, and it's actually getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn.
If you're leaving the roots in and using the biology to break down the roots, you're getting those air passages, you're getting those water passages. And, if you're front loading your soil, so not just using a potting mix that you buy, but using a potting mix that you amend a little bit more and give it the time to add the biology to break things down, your plants are going to do 100% better than just using a straight potting mix that you're buying from the store. Take that potting mix and make it your own mix, because a lot of these potting mixes only have
sterile.
B and C and not the rest of the available things.
Sterile, right.
Yeah, they're very sterile. And a lot of them have, I hate to say it, have chemicals in them.
So you have to get the organic potting soil, right?
Yeah, and then if you have some compost, mix in a little bit of that finished compost.
That's exactly what I was going to say, right?
That's what that's where your biology is.
Mix your compost with your potting soil. So don't use your potting soil straight, even if it's organic. You want to have as much biology in there. Even like I say, even throw some worms into the mix, because you're not doing anything wrong for the worms. They will supply. And when the plant grows, you just cut it down, put it to the ground, put it aside, continue to take care of it. Mm-hmm. Everything will break down to the point where then you can plant again.
Okay,
so
now
it takes a little while for everything to break down and go through the cycle. But yeah, I would do it, and you'll get. And maybe you can make, if you happen to have a little separate worm farm thing going, any other way for biology, you can make the liquids to pour around into the plants, and that's really what I found. My liquid is really very good at that, because it's really biologically rich, and these plants love it in a container because they're not getting enough of the biology.
Yeah, and it's the biology that builds the cells, so that's the biology that builds the plant. So Serena wanted to know, what does triple super phosphate do to the soil, raise or lower the pH? Do you know that one, Andy?
It raises the pH level, makes it it makes it very, very alkaline at first, but once you start, it depends how much organic matter you have, and when you run out of organic matter, it's going to become very, very acidic. It's very, very acidic. Nothing will grow, and I would never use that. So if you're using that, bad girl, I'm going to call the cops, the organic cops, on you right now. I want to get silly Lily. Write this person's name down. We're going to have to follow up with this.
Serena, you're in trouble now, sweetheart.
You don't want to be using that at all. Seriously, you don't want to use that at all. There are better ways to get what you need. And this is a typical example of what happens if you overdo something. You're also going to involuntarily restrict the intake of other things.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's not a natural base, nor is it an organic source. So it will destroy the biology left and right. You're going to be stuck with trying to figure out how to feed and what's wrong. And usually what will happen, she'll get some type of disease, because the soil is the key. If it didn't say it was in a container or not, but more like if it's in the ground, you're going to find you're going to have fungus and mungus all the time, because they love this stuff. And you can actually take a refractometer and measure the Brix level of the plant, the leaf of the plant, or the flower of the plant. And you're going to find it's really, really super low. You're going to go WTF. See what I'm saying? Learn how to use a refractometer. We can have a show on the different refractometers reading of plants, of roses, for example, of lawns. You didn't say what you were growing. That makes a big difference, right? So, hey, are you there? Why don't you tell me what is it you were trying to grow? It's okay. I won't tell anybody. Come on, where are you? Is she up there?
Oh yeah, she's out there. We'll wait for her response on that. But Scotty Timmons, I like to talk about staying organic in rock wool with drippers. I mean, I know someone has to be doing it. Andy,
Right.
do you have any ideas on this?
You can do that because there's no reason why you can't do it totally organically. Rock rolls are a very clear, clean, easy way to do it. You stick to the having a good biology. It depends on your liquid base, right? It depends upon how you manage the flow of liquids through the system. My supersede wasn't invented to be used like that, but you have to not let it sit. You circulate it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you so you learn about pH and the right balance, you can make your own liquids that are so gentle that they provide. Because the keys are really growing good. I'm assuming you're growing some. Mary Jane, what did you think, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. So, because there's other plants, there are other different things that you can do, but with Mary Jane, you have to remember the trace minerals. You really want those trace minerals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you want to key into. Make your liquid for that purpose, and you'll find that you're going to get massive amounts of buds and all that because it all depends upon the relationship of what trace minerals to other trace minerals. If you're missing one, like for example, a lot of people use a 55, they use a 0, 55, 55, or a 0, 0, or 12, 12, 55 mixture, thinking that that's going to give them more blooms. But and you still need 90 trace minerals to. So where are you getting that? So no, they're not going to produce as much blooms as if you're using C90, which by the way is hard to find now. So you may have to find something else to provide you the trace minerals. I like using the rock dust and adding the biology to the rock dust. That's what I've done for many. Like I get 12 different types of rock dust, which has different types of trace minerals in it. Combine it together. You always want to combine it together, and you add a liquid that will break up the rock dust, and then you use that liquid, and then you find that you can use a little bit of that, and the liquid is, well, for example, compost tea works fine. A small amount of rock dust, and the compost tea breaks it down. You'll find it's in the tea, and then you'll have 90 something trace minerals in there, depending upon your blend of rock dust.
Yeah, and another way that I know that people are doing it, they're actually running an aquaponics system, and then they're taking that water to put into their the other system to run for their plants. So they're getting the benefits of all that biology in their aquaponics system, all the nutrients from that fish waste to grow plants in the rock wool.
So what you do, you have your growing system, and then right there you have your aquaponic, the plants, whether you use fish in it, whether you use plants. And if you recycle that water through your plants, you're going to get all the nutrients that you need, provided that this aquaponics itself has a good blend of biology in there, right?
Well, and once your aquaponics, and I've had an aquaponic system. I started my first cannabis plants in an aquaponic system, so I know how beneficial that water is. And once your cycle is built up and your nitrate to nitrite is established, you're going to have phenomenal growth. And there's people that are doing this commercially, growing cannabis in aquaponics, and then they're in a straight aquaponics, and then there's people that are having the aquaponics, taking the water and using it on their grow. So they've separated the two. So you can do either or. Sometimes it's better to have them separated depending on your style of growing. And sometimes it's better to have them joint depending on what you need and what you want. Because there's advantages and disadvantages going both ways.
Don't you dare put Serena's joke on. You leave it alone. Don't put it up.
Oh, I'm going to have to now. I have to now. What the plants drink at social gathering. Compost tea. They should be drinking compost extract. The tea is like bad beer. The extract is like the best whiskey.
So I started growing my favorite plant I didn't grow it in high school. I grew it when I got out of the service. I was 21. It was easy to grow in those days because I can grow outside. But I decided I liked indoor better because when I was making my super seaweed, which I invented in early 71, 72, something like that. And I made that specifically because here's what I was doing. I was at University of Florida. My thing was to come up with, let me see if I get this right, marijuana beer.
Marijuana beer, okay.
Yeah, so my thing is that, and the teachers, they agreed that the law, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to breed hops with marijuana.
Okay.
A hops vine is where the beers come from. Marijuana is the plant. If you ever look at the seeds, you will not be able to tell the difference. You look at Mary Jane.
Andy, it's because marijuana, the genealogy of marijuana comes from the hop plant. So
does it?
Yes, it actually does. That's where people talk about hops latent viroid that comes from the hops plant that affects the cannabis plant. It's because the family tree of the two is coming from the same lineage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Because when I decided, and I didn't know about this lineage thing, but what triggered it to me was this. You know me, I'm a genius in so many ways. Things come to me without even knowing what you guys are talking about. But I decided I didn't like beer. Mm-hmm. And I grew a hops plant, beautiful hops plant. That's where you make your beer from.
Bread starter. You can make bread starter out of hops. That's the best.
What is that?
Bread starter.
Bread starter. Oh, cool.
Yes, the yeast in the hops is your bread starter.
Because a friend of mine made beer, and I liked the beer that came from the hops plant. I said that was really cool. And in those days, we would get Mary Jane, make a tea out of it in water, and add it to the hops, the liquid, and we would drink it and consider that marijuana beer. So, but one day, does this make plants look fat? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So one day I decided to buy some hop seed. And like I said, the hop seed are identical to the marijuana plant. You can shake. You can look all you want to. You go, what the heck? They're identical. You can't. I figured, maybe I'll do it. And I was wrong. I sliced one seed, and sliced the other. I put the two together, wrapped them up, and figured maybe they'll grow that way. No, that was the wrong thing to do because you killed it. So what I did was I had the marijuana plant, and even that was a bit because I ended up using an indica plant as opposed to sativa because the indica made a better root plant than the sativa did.
Yeah.
Because I figured, well, the house plant is like I wanted the circle, how big the house plant and the marijuana to be the same circumference.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because the idea was to cut it and graft one onto the other one. So I wanted to be as close as possible to the same size. So that's what I did. So I would start the both plants, and then it took a while because you experiment didn't work. What really works is you had the root systems of the indicas and the vine at the top of the hops, and you graft it onto there. The plant will grow. So it took a few years because the first year the DEA says, well, the THC is so low, it's not, you can't. And besides, the plant's not illegal because nobody's ever seen a marijuana. Because you have the vine, the leaves of the marijuana plant and the buds of the marijuana plant, but it's a vine. And they hang down like pop stuffs, right? Yep. And so the thing was, it would die. It would not just keep on going. The hops is not a perennial. It doesn't keep on going either. And neither is Mary Jane. It doesn't keep, unless you're in a tropical place, and even then, something happens and it'll die. So I decided when it dies that normally when I grew pot, my thing was I believe that you didn't have to pull the plant out. You can cut it and revegetate it again. Because if I was growing them under lights, so when my plants had buds and they were done, I would clip all the buds I wanted, left a whole bunch of smaller buds and a whole bunch of other stuff in there, and rechange them to 24-hour light.
Right.
And I gave them the biology, play the good music, driving that train, right? And the plants would start growing again. The leaves would start getting green. The leaves would start putting leaves, and it would grow again. I had one plant that was like 7 years old before I had to move, and I couldn't take it with me. It's like a little, and it would be like 4 feet tall, something like that. I would prune them wide to have more budding space, right? And I had a light on top and lights on the bottom, not the bottom, on the side. And there, I did research for LED companies to write about the latest LED that would come out, and I would use it. But so I knew that the plant would regenerate if we go back to the full life cycle. So if that's possible, that means that when it's time to go, I would grow another hops and graft it on again. So every year that you graft it on a new hops, it'll be more and more THC. And the guy says, well, it went up a little bit. Well, after a few years, it said, well, now it's illegal because your THC is beyond the legal level. It doesn't matter where you get it from. It's illegal. You can't grow it.
Yeah.
That was the end of that. But it worked. The damn thing worked. The plant was a vine, and it would grow. But the bottom line is talk about biology container. Yeah, I treated it like it's a little mini worm farm.
Cool.
I get my worm, put it in there. If the worms die, it's not a good environment. So I grow the worms first, and then you make a little hole, and then you grow your plant in the worms and stuff. You know, you can't dig anywhere in there. The worms will take care of it. You do have to water it and drain it right, but that was the best, biggest buds, the best tasting, the most of everything ever you can do indoors.
Cool. So we do have some more questions, Andy.
I have questions. Oh,
you're questionable, all right. Yes. So how do you add compost to a green stalk each year if it's growing strawberries, and when do I need to add it?
a green stalk is a structure where the strawberries grow up. Is that it, or is it a bed?
I think it's a structure.
Structure, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. What you have to do is you basically have to repot it. You have to basically maybe once a year or twice a year, because if you repot it, because you take the strawberries out, it's easy to do. You have this mixture. You take the old mixture out, put the new mixture in, put the plant back in again. It will continue to go. If you don't do that, then what you have to do is you have to make compost tea on a regular basis. Use the compost tea, but also you want to take the little bit of compost that you have and start slowly adding it around, because you can't add a lot to it. So you have to add a little bit, tablespoon here, a tablespoon there, because the structure is not very big, doesn't hold a lot in there. But the best way would be to once or twice a year take all the plants out, repot it in this very rich mixture, put it back in again, and your plants will bloom like crazy. Otherwise, you have no choice but to foliar feed them.
Are you actually you're up potting so a larger and larger pot, or are you washing the roots off and potting it into a new mix?
Right.
So you're washing the roots off and putting them into the new mix.
Right. Okay. It doesn't make sense to put them into a bigger one unless you really want them to go into a bigger one. But we're assuming they're in the right size to begin with. It's too tiny, it doesn't work. Too big, it's okay because you have a bigger plant.
Yeah.
So if you have in the right environment, i.e., it's the right size, then you can't. It's like a container. The biology will eventually die out because it's not getting the organic matter that it needs.
So it's like Andy changing his shirt. Once it gets wore out, he changes it.
Right.
That's what your soil. So let's go on to the next question, Andy. I know I want to get through these questions that Serena has. I don't know if you ran into soil blocks, Andy, and making soil blocks for starts, but I'm using soil blocks. What needs to be added for optimal plant health? So she's building her own soil, and then she makes there's a machine where you stuff it and it makes you a block.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So you want to have a widest blend. So my liquid, which I make for my customers, is the widest blend of biology you can get. It has biology in so many different places, and throughout the year I tend to rotate them all the time. So I feel that these houses are basically soil blocks. So you just have to give them the biology on a regular basis, and you have to have a blend that's like it has to be it has to be bacteria. It has to be biology rich and mineral rich.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? So you have to have an environment where the biology is eating these minerals, and you want them to eat it in your little container. That's what it comes down to, right?
Take your compost, mix it with a good soil, let that cook for a few days or a week to 10 days. Take that, use that mix, so your compost and good quality soil together in your soil block. So you're getting all the biology, you're getting all the nutrients that's there. And if you want,
Good.
you can add more, as long as more nutrients like rock dust, etc., as long as you allow that to compost for at least 30 days for the biology to break that down so you don't burn your plants.
So soil blocks is a structure that they call soil block, because I'm looking at soil blocks that are made of soil.
And that's what a soil block maker is. It's you make your own soil, you mix up your soil mix, and then you make a block, and it's just got a hole in it.
How to make a block? Does it compress it? Does it compress it into a block?
Yes.
Okay,
you can look up soil block makers on the internet. There's different sizes.
So it's a bad idea to put worms in it, because they're gonna go, ah!
Yeah, you don't want to put the worms in it.
I thought that. So you have no choice but to add the biology in liquid form. That's essentially
and so when you're moistening up your soil, you're adding a liquid, like something like fish brew, and soil with the biology that they have. Those
lots
are good
of stuff
things.
on the market these days. Lots of stuff on the market these days. And even then, in your kitchen, you have biology you're throwing away all the time. You can be watering with that as well. Anything you throw away in the kitchen. Remember we talked about doing sprouts. Well, that liquid is absolutely amazing. When you're like, for example, I have a bottle of goat cream that went bad. Well, I'm not throwing it away. I'm adding it to water. I know it'll be spraying. If I had those blocks, I could spray with that. You see, so you want to give them a blend of food from any number of sources that you can think of. When you're making tea or coffee, make another batch, cool it off, and spray them with that.
Yep. So
and they love coffee, cream, and sugar.
Let's get to her last question. Ken, how deep do Navajo thornless blackberry roots grow, and should I plant them in a container to protect the plumbing? And actually, Scotty Timmons, who was the plumber, basically answered that, Serena. He said no, he's never seen that type of a plant get down deep enough to interfere, their roots interfere with the plumbing. But Andy, do you have a response to that?
No, I don't grow these, so I don't know for sure, but I know that blackberries over here are very shallow roots. You can pull them up very easily. They don't have very deep root structures, and I've grown blackberries a lot, but they cover a wide area. They're like grass. They don't have really super deep structures. In containers is really cool if you can do that, because then you can control it a little better. You can feed them, and you can. One of the problems is having a blackberry bush is you can't get to most of them.
Yeah, and you have to understand that most plumbing pipes are fairly deep underground. Your only real problems I've seen in all my research is more from your trees that create the larger roots.
Right.
Most of your smaller plants don't have roots that are going to
18 inch
through.
Most of the here in the United States, the pipes and stuff like that begin at 18 inches.
And the further north you go, which Andy doesn't have any clue on northern climates, guys. Up here, your plumbing has to be below frost line.
Where is that?
For me, it's 6 feet deep.
6 feet. There you go.
If frost line is 6 feet. Right. That's where you were talking about worms going down. Up in Canada, Andy, our night crawlers, our big worms that are native here.
Yeah.
They will go, 18 feet deep in the winter time. Okay.
Yeah, night crawlers are one of my favorite. Night crawlers. I have African night crawlers. I didn't know they had Canadian night crawlers.
Yes. I don't know that they're related to the African night crawlers, but up here we have the big fat worms. They do not like to be in containers. You can't train them worth a damn to be in a worm farm. That's just, they're wild beasts, our worms.
Well, the African night crawlers are my favorite. They're my favorite because they do stay in the containers. But these are containers that they can't get out of, even if they wanted to, unless they figured out a way to cut through the steel. So there's no way they can get out. But I've had experiences with trying to grow them in normal containers, and they disappear on you.
Andy, I got a question for you.
I didn't do it.
Have you ever had your worms mutiny and get out of your bin and die all over the place? Have you ever had that happen to you?
Not to me, but quite a few other people have told me. I opened up the garage, and they were like all over the garage. They were heading south, and I said, "What the heck did you do?" Another lady did it under her kitchen sink, and of course they were gone all over the place. Yeah. And another lady had something similar to what I did, but she drowned them.
And so way too much water or not enough moisture is generally why they do that.
And they vacated. The ones that survived vacated. They were all over the place. What's interesting with me now is I'm finding worms. See, when I first moved into this farm, there were no worms. Now there are worms because my liquid, and somehow the worms are getting out from my worm container and they're working their way to the garden. I'm not really sure. Now, you know what it is that they have eggs. So the liquid that I get, it's full of worm eggs. And the machine I have doesn't destroy the worm's eggs. And so that's what one advantage of you when you use a worm farm is you're going to get the worm eggs. They have babies, the little baby eggs. You can look under a microscope. You can see the little eggs. And they will transfer over to the garden. So I'm happy. Just the other day I was digging. I said, oh my God, worm. And it's the same kind of worm. And they're trying to figure, which way is it to the worm farm, please? I'm going, you know.
You got to put a big neon sign up, worm farm over here, free food.
Let's see. Anything else going on here? The world transparent wild plants to the sexual. Well, transplanting. Huh?
Yeah, I know Scotty had found a raspberry bush I found in the woods, and he dug it up and took it home. And now he's got several new ones. Fantastic.
You must live in the country where you actually have a bush.
Yeah, you not live in the country where you can go out and find some bush, not like in a city where you're not going to have that option, right?
What I have to do is knock on the door. Excuse me, but do you mind if I dig in your garden or in your little forest here? Oh no, it's true. They don't like it. And when I ask them, I like to get some of your soil biology to bring into my place. And they look at me funny, but they understand because it's a magical place. And I learned that on YouTube. One guy was transferring stuff. It's a Korean farming method to transplanting biology from one place to another place. And you see something really amazing, you grow it. You get the rice. You get these rice little baskets with rice in them, and the biology will completely cover the rice. And you take that and you transplant it into the ground on your property. The problem is they grow there.
That's an IMO, an indigenous microorganism transfer. And we actually got somebody that is a professional in that and teaches it in North America, Chris Trump, coming on with me on Monday morning.
Oh, good. I like to hear it because it doesn't quite work that way. You have to make the environment that they're going to somehow compatible for them also. Because if it's a real desert you're taking it to, they're not going to survive.
Well, there's a lot more to that IMO collection, and there's different steps to take. You take that, you mix it with sugar, put them into stasis, and then you grow it up, and then you grow it up. It's like growing children. You start.
Yeah, I didn't mean to make it too simplified, but basically that's it. You have to go through all these different things to get from there to there, and that's a very nice. That's what she should do with. I forgot what we were talking about, but basically that's what we ended up talking about. So what else? So I'm getting ready to do an online workshop starting in a few months of all this stuff. And you guys should, if you want to get my free ebook, Don't Panic, It's Organic, just go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. Say, hey, when you get the newsletter, you can always respond. Ask Andy question there, and you'll see a link that says get your free book. You can also email me and say, give me my free book. But the link basically is an email, because my newsletter allows you to email me, and it bypasses all the other blockers. And then you can say, Andy, I got your newsletter, or it's all about the biology, and I will email you the ebook back immediately. That's the easiest way to do it. Plus, I have my natural pest control book, which I might do too, because we can talk about that one. And I still have the bricks one that I can give away as well. You know, it's a bricks done by a person that tells you about bricks, and he said to give it away. And I also have the Remineralize the Planet one that my friend Don Weaver gave to me. I'm not going to send you all three, but if you remember them, if you say which ones they are, it's just an ebook. I just click, and you got it. It's not going to take any space. So I have those. If you just want the Don't Panic, It's Organic, or the Remineralize Cereals book, or if you want the Bricks book, just let me know. If you want all three, it's okay, but you got to do the newsletter. It's very important for me. And ideally, you should comment and subscribe on this show. I know you're subscribing. You guys, I know you're. You know, this is for you people who are just passing through this is a great show. Yeah, subscribe and then comment. Commenting is very important because we want to get the word out to people, and we want YouTube to know that what we're talking about is important to people.
Well, and the more you guys comment and the more you put in the live chat, it allows the algorithm to rank us that much higher for the content that we're producing. So yeah, definitely, guys. And if you want those three different books, make sure that you go to Andy's website, make sure you sign up for the email and ask him for the three different books. You know, don't hesitate to do that while you have the opportunity to have that available.
I may not be around anymore. My spaceship is coming, going to be here any day now. And then once it beams me up, you'll say, what happened to Andy? Nobody knows. He was here, he's not here, and it's gone. This would be.
And guys, Andy just said he's going to be putting on a chorus in a couple of months. So you're going to find out about that through the newsletter. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter.
Right. And that tells you a whole bunch of stuff. It also introduces you to my music, because I got some really cool new songs coming out that people actually like. Cool. Right, you know, and I've been doing it a long time. Plus, I do all kinds of really cool, interesting artworks you would like to as well. So that's what the newsletter is about, tells you what's going on. And of course, it keeps you, so I have this worm, I call it On the Worm Farm. It's a continuing process of what I have to do to keep these worms alive and functioning, how I use them. So I put those on my website. I'm happy to do another worm farming show here, to just bring people up to date. I love to show people how my garden's coming along, even though I have issues, but those issues are things, how I work them out. You won't believe what I'm doing. There's still a few gophers running around. I think it's because I live next to a forest, and I talk to one gopher and they move on, but another gopher goes, oh, this is a nice place. Oh, you got here, Charlie. What's going on? Oh, look at that lettuce. Oh, carrots. Oh, yeah, they're brand new. I said, oh, can I help you? And I said, well, this here garden is great.
I start charging them rent, Andy.
These gophers are like, I said, I didn't know you can eat sweet potato vines. I didn't know guys could eat that. You do. And one guy said, I'm sitting there, the gopher sticks his head out, he looks around, he sees a tomato plant, grabs the plant and kills it right in front of me. I'm like, okay, that was fun. So I'm working. I don't want to kill the poor guy. So the way it works is you increase the biology, increase the root system. I planted all kinds of medicinal plants. He doesn't touch them, right? So I'm planting more. I planted all kinds of bulbs. Gophers hate paper white lilies, daffodils. They hate tulips. They actually, I planted a tulip. Next day, he shoves it out. And I go, shove it back and shoves it out. So they don't want these things to grow because they're toxic. One was bitten, and I think he didn't make it because he bites it. It's a very toxic for gophers. So I'm working on that. Plus, I'm working on the ants, you know, and I have squirrels, all kinds of creatures here. My idea is to let's live. Everybody's got to live together. Well, I can't, right? So I'm trying to do that. Just the other day, I'm watching my cat, and I have lots of pictures of this. My cat is playing with a squirrel. He has a pet squirrel. It's a little baby pet squirrel because it's small, and the mommy and daddy are over there eating on their bread and peanuts because that's what I give them. My idea is, okay, if I feed you, maybe you'll leave my garden alone. Because a week ago, this guy was running to, oh, look at this, and they would chomp on a lettuce, or they would chomp on this leaf, or they chomp on that. I go, for crying out loud, you're eating everything. Well, isn't it for us? No, it's for me too. So I figure, okay, I'm going to feed you so much that you won't be so hungry you won't go after my plants. So it's a never-ending thing that people, ongoing episode of how you can garden without using chemicals, pesticides, and all that kind of stuff.
So being part of nature instead of fighting against nature.
Right. So the garden, everybody's welcome in the garden. I don't mind gophers coming around. I just don't like them to kill my plants. And another person's told me that gophers really, the way they get water is by eating your plants. So I have to, but I also know they're very sensitive to know. So lately I've been putting coffee beans in into their tunnels. I sprayed them with my wood vinegar, which has its own unique smell to it. And so scent is key there. Scent, because they smell everything. So I'm learning. I'm buying some. It's called garlic barrier. It's like they say 100 bulbs in this gallon of garlic, and it's really, really strong. I can't even use it on my machine because it would smell like garlic for months and months and months. People go, "Oh, it's spraying garlic today." No, I did that 3 months ago. The same thing with fish emulsion. I can't spray fish emulsion. There'd be like 100 cats going, yeah, I know it's here. And they would love the smell. It stinks. So I like to, but you can use them on controlling these creatures. The garlic is a very strong systemic. So I use that for a lot of things. But I've learned it's better to grow the actual garlic and garlic plants rather than to spray the whole property with garlic, because they chew on one garlic and the gopher comes home. Honey, I'm home. No, you stay away from me. You smell like garlic. Get out of here. Yeah, so that's the idea. And they hate coffee. The caffeine, they hate coffee, and it does work. But like I said, I think I'm getting some new ones showing by because they look like, oh, this is really cool. They stick their head out. I haven't been here before. So I'm learning that process, and that's also good to pass the information on to people to see what I do. You will love the worm farming that's going on. I'm going to get another bin. So as soon as I start building another bin, I'll show you guys what I do from end to start and how I get the liquids. But this is a very important key for you to spread biology around, because that's what I do. I bring the biology to you. Most people won't understand that. What do you mean bring the biology? So I have to get clever. You have to get real clever with people in terms of telling them you're an idiot, and we're going to help your biology. And they don't know about biology, but I think the word biology is self-explaining. It really teaches people that everything's about biology.
Yeah, exactly. And then people are understanding more because they're hearing about their own gut biology more and more. Now they're starting to slowly get it. But I wanted to make sure that Bohemian Herbology is going to get into looking at bricks. So she's going to have to reach out to you to get that book. But I also wanted to mention, if you go to Blue Sky Biochar, he has a kit where he has the refractometer. He's got scissors, 5-tine scissors,
right?
So for chopping up your plant. He's also got charts that he sends with it. So if you're going to get into that, that's something that
it's a good price too.
Website. Yeah, it's exactly. And good stuff, good quality material.
I've been doing bricks for years, and so I have to buy them in the beginning. I have one that's $10,000 because the company is a Leica company, gave it to me because I was talking about bricks. I can't afford to buy bricks. Now you can go on Amazon. I have 4 different bricks, refractometer. They read bricks. One's a digital. So digital real easy, like the one that Michael has is additional. You basically put a drop of the stuff, you look through it, and it tells you the brick number. And there are different costs for that. So I have one for $35, I have one for $200, and one for $300. My $10,000 one, compared to these, all give the same reading. Yeah, because you use bricks for making beer and booze and all kinds of stuff. And then you have the analog. You have a digital kind. You have an analog and a digital And the analog and the digital is basically it gives you a reading. You look at put it on, the number comes up, but you can't do it in a light. You have to do it in a shady spot, and it gives you the reading. It's the same thing. So you can go wide range of costs. So Michael's is like maybe $79, and it's a kit. It gives you something you can use to crush with it. It gives you the tools and the refractometer. It's a great little kit. I actually have the box over here because I keep taking it with me and telling people you need to get a refractometer. And once they understand, this is not the one talking about this. It's real. There's a device that can tell you the Brix level, and the Brix level is the amount of sugar your plant has, which also translates to your mineral. Your mineral your plants have. Higher the Brix, the higher the mineral level.
So Bohemia wanted to point out she uses the garlic wash on powdery mildew. Have you used it for that, Andy?
Well, see, again, powdery mildew is a soil problem. So when you have powdery mildew, you know your soil biology is not entirely all there, because this is a disease that starts in the soil, powdery mildew, and it spreads up from the soil. So it has to do with the water, has to do with the water vapors going up, and it causes the powdery mildew to grow on this liquid because it needs water. But it's also a trace mineral deficiency in the plant. So you want to get a better range of the biology that you're using, better trace minerals. But there are lots of things you could use instead of did you say baking soda, right? Was that it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, baking soda. There are other things you can use that work really, really super well and are really least expensive. Baking soda is very not expensive at all. So you can use
a garlic wash.
Oh, garlic wash, right. And so you can use baking soda. Garlic is very good because it's a systemic, and it's the sulfur in the garlic that'll kill the powdery mildew. See, the sulfur in the garlic. Because a lot of people normally get sulfur, crush it up, and make a liquid out of it. But garlic is mainly sulfur. Mm-hmm. That's why it works on diseases and stuff. You can also use wood vinegar, a small amount of wood vinegar spray, or you can use it by my liquid. I can add a little bit of water and spray on the powdery mildew, which I did yesterday, Tuesday, because these plants are being overwatered. They have powdery mildew. They have sooty mold on them, right? And that's not an ant problem. It's a soil problem. Too much water. Both of these diseases need a certain amount of water vapor in the air. That means they're getting watered too often. You need to allow the water to be longer in between watering to let it dry out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And for example, also too, coffee is very good. Coffee will when you spray will because it's acidic, will change the environment so that the disease can't grow. The same thing happens when you're using milk. Milk is high in calcium because that calcium happens to be the deficiency that's lacking calcium. So when you use milk, remember get your calcium. So you can do that, though, knock it out as well because you're providing the calcium to it. But that's only short-term solution. Your long-term solution is look at where you're getting your minerals from, and you're deficient in calcium right off the bat there. See, so and calcium is usually it's something easy to get, but not so much if your biology is not there.
Now, Serena, we're going to do one last question, and it's another one with Serena. She bought compost from the Boy Scouts. They spread it for her, but they didn't move the mulch back. The mulch is cedar. She's asking, does she need to move the compost, get that cedar out of there and put it back on top? Or can that cedar stay there and break down underneath that compost? Anna?
I would leave it alone. The only thing about that is that when you water it, the compost will go down and the cedar will end up on top anyway.
Okay, is that cedar going to cause problems? Because a lot of people, it's not going to cause any problems.
No, not at all. The thing to do also to realize where the problem comes from is if you use fresh. It has the oils, and same thing with eucalyptus. The same thing with a lot of plants. The oil is what's going to be bad for them. So if you dry it off first, right, few weeks, a month, let it dry out, then use it. So when you freshly use it, it will kill everything that comes in contact with.
So Serena, if that cedar mulch has been there for a while, there's not going to be any problem.
No problem.
If it was fresh this spring, then there may be a problem. But yeah, that
Give it 30
guys,
days.
yeah, we're at the hour, Andy, and I know you worked all day. You had a couple of customers. I know you're probably exhausted, so we're gonna
I
cut
don't
it.
even know who you are. I don't know why you keep making you come here. I don't know what's going on here. Mother, anybody?
All right, guys. Tomorrow on Conversations in Ken's Cafe, we have Stefan Burns, geophysicist, coming on. So we're going to be talking energy, frequency, vibration on
Ooh.
Earth, on humanity, the whole
What time is
9
that?
yards.
What time is
That's
that?
1 o'clock Mountain Time, noon Pacific. 3 o'clock Eastern, I think it is.
I'm
3
Pacific. I'm
o'clock Eastern.
Pacific. So it's 1 o'clock Pacific time.
Noon Pacific, 1 o'clock
Oh,
Mountain.
June
So,
Pacific. You guys do stuff in the middle of the day. Some of us work, you know. So
well,
I'll watch the repeat.
I'm starting to I'm doing a daily show, and I had to put it
That's
where it was before Leighton and the Soil Matters, giving me a little bit of time. So, thanks, Tackmaster. Glad to see you here, guys. Anyway, everybody,
Take
we'll
care,
see you
everybody.
tomorrow. And
Bye.
don't forget, Andy and I are back on next Wednesday.
Bye. Take care
Bye
now.
bye.